Hello, welcome to our Lean Laboratories overview. I'm Catherine Converset. We have a short session today, 30 minutes. So I will speak for 30 minutes. If you have any question, you can write them in the chat, and I will answer your question at the end of the session. So Lean Laboratories. Every time we want to make a change in an organization, it's important to understand that everything starts with the why. And you might know the golden circle, which tells how important providing the sense of purpose is critical in any transformation program, in any change program, in any improvement program. So before talking about the what needs to be done, you need to clarify the why and talk and think and reflect to the how. And this is what we are going to do today, quickly, obviously. So everything starts with the why. So the why Lean in laboratories? Basically, in many industries, chemical industry, pharmaceutical industries, food industries, automotive industry, laboratories play a key role. They are part of the entire value stream, and they are critical for product release in the sense that they test samples on raw materials, packaging components, utilities, semi-finished products, finished products, and unless they are able to provide the results, the company, the plant cannot release the product to batches. On the other hand, laboratories make a lot of testing, trials on new material, new customer solutions. They make prototyping, and they are critical for business development and growth. Therefore, their performance is very important. And their performance, the expected performance from a lab is 100% reliable results at the required time. Supply chain needs to ship the products, and it's critical that the lab are able to meet the deadline and be reliable. So expected performance is 100% reliable, 100% on time. And this requires expertise and capabilities. One thing I always I realized when I started working with laboratories a few years ago is how important the skills of the technicians are, how important multi-skilling is, because you need to be able to make tests even when people are not in the lab, when they are away, when they are on vacation. How important methods should be reliable, should be robust, so that there is no variability in the results. And at the end, this expertise relies on people and equipment, obviously, but mainly people. And people need to feel good in lab environments. I don't know if you all have this issue today, but I see many companies, many laboratories having difficulties to recruit, to get new people on board, to keep people. And therefore, I think the why it's important to improve in lab is also related to generating people satisfaction, which is absolutely essential. So building a lean lab in reality is creating the capability to test samples, products, and deliver reliable results and reports as quickly as possible with perfect quality and minimum waste. So I don't know what your performance is today, but what do you think if you could get these results, like lead time, adherence to lead time, 95 to 98%? So you would almost be 100% on time, right first time, 95% or plus, and low absenteeism. A 2019 research study made in 17 companies, 53 labs in Switzerland and in different countries showed the evidence that the highest performing labs have all engaged a comprehensive operational excellence lean program by building a real lean management system. And their performance is really much higher than the other labs. The 35% higher, something like that. You can get this study if you're interested in, I can send that to you. So without only referring to these results, I can tell you about results we have gotten with our customers and in different environments. Just I am presenting 3 of them. One is a QC lab in a pharmaceutical company making peptide products. And basically their batch release time was 2 to 4 weeks, which was too long, much too long. And after Lean Lab, the release time is maximum 5 days. The delivery of the result is 98% on time, and the level of retest has decreased to almost 0. And this plant has actually, this lab in this plant is performing so well, and the principles have been extended to all the plants. And this plant has been awarded the Shingo Prize in 2020, the second pharmaceutical site in the world. Another example is in an environmental lab, asbestos testing, same thing, the need for quick results. These people test soil or building material samples, and obviously the building companies cannot stop the works waiting for 2 or 3 or 4 days for the results. So we have done a great job, and they are now guaranteeing 24 hours response time, and the reduction of error has been incredible. Same thing, because when we talk about lab, I just want to make it clear, we talk about all industrial labs, quality control labs, but also R&D labs. And R&D labs have a big challenge, which is to provide, as I said before, provide new product, new solutions, test new solutions to the customer. And this is an example of results we got in a chemical company, R&D lab, increase daily output by 25%, which means that you can do more things during a day and more things during a week. So you can be much quicker at responding to new customers when customers want you to test a new material for shoes, for sneakers, for whatever. So basically, this is the kind of results you can get if you engage yourself into a true lean transformation. All laboratories have specific constraints, safety for the people, environment, the community. There is a lot of compliance in many business sectors. They need to master analytical expertise, but they also have issues impacting effectiveness, like very often highly variable workload, variable analytical process times, product variety, equipment variety. So it's not always easy. So I just want to give you a few principles about how you can transform a lab which has all these difficulties. So basically, I think lean in the labs, and as in many services, is really not about the techniques and the tools, it's about the mindset. So I just wanted to share with you the principles of the lean mindset. We want everyone in the organization to adopt the lean mindset. And the lean mindset starts from staying away from the traditional silo thinking in which everyone optimizes its own activity with its own KPIs. But at the end of the day, the customer doesn't get his product, doesn't get his result. So lean thinking number 1 is we want to stay away from silo way of working to think in terms of customer, to think in terms of the value stream. So lean thinking is about, okay, let's position ourselves in the overall value chain. And only if we work together as a chain with a synchronization between the steps, we can serve the customer. So lean thinking number one is we work for the customer. We are here to serve the customers. And that's a very important thing. And if we want to serve the customer, we have, and this is lean thinking number two, we have to look at the whole end-to-end process. Obviously, the ideal end-to-end process is very large, so you cannot start with the big end-to-end process. But you can in a lab, you must in a lab at least take an end-to-end process from sample collection to final results. And the thinking is, how can we reduce lead time in the flow of products and services? One point which I think is very important, lean thinking is about reducing lead time and improving quality. It's not about reducing cost. Cost will be the result of the work you are doing. Cost reduction will be the result of your strategy at reducing lead time. So if we want to reduce lead time, we have to eliminate what prevents teams from continuously doing right first time and on-time delivery, which is also creating a lot of dissatisfaction. There are days when you go back home, you feel you've done nothing during the day, which is not true, but you realize that you have not achieved what you wanted to achieve. So people satisfaction is really important, and we want to eliminate what creates dissatisfaction. So when we talk about what creates dissatisfaction, and when we talk about eliminating activities which prevents us from doing right first time and just in time, let's consider the key concept of value adding. Value adding is an activity which adds value for the customer. So in a lab, it's making the tests, validating the result, it's making the prototype, it's all that, because this is what the customer is expecting. We have waste, which we will see in a second. Waste is all the activities which do not create value for the customer. But we also have another category of activities, which are the ancillary activities, which are the activities which are required to run a laboratory, such as maintaining, calibrating the equipment, such as ordering the chemical agents, all these things which are essential to run the lab, but which do not directly add value for the customer. So the purpose is really, the objective is really to maximize during the day the proportion of value-adding activities. So reduce the time it takes, reduce the waste, and reduce the time it takes to do the ancillary activities, so that you can have more, better output and more satisfaction again. So, okay, lean thinking number 3 is, what is waste? You probably know the waste. There is an acronym which we can use, which makes it easier to remember. TEAMWOOD. TEAM stands for transportation, moving sample from one place to another. Sometimes it can take one day in large plants, or even more than that. Transportation. I like inventory. Obviously, if you have too many chemical agents with a limited date, you have to throw them away when it's overdue. So it's waste. M, like motion. Unnecessary activities. I don't know, you have to move the balance, you have to move yourself, the place is not clean, you don't know where you position your device. This is motion. This is a waste. It's a micro waste, but it's a waste. It could also be a macro waste. Then you have W, like waiting. When the samples are waiting, when you don't know which sample you have to take to make the testing, or waiting, the technician is waiting for the samples. Waiting is a big waste in laboratories. Then you have overproduction and overquality. Overproduction means, okay, instead of testing 2 samples, you test 10 because you are not sure you think it's better to test it. Okay. Over quality means you do it twice because you want to be really sure. Okay. And TMOD, the D, stands for defect, rework. So when you miss your tests right first time, you have to do it again. And this is a big waste in labs. So I see a lot of waiting, rework, defect, motion, and also transportation in labs. So that's lean thinking number 3. We have to address these wastes. And who is going to do that? Your team. I mean, lean is not about one person checking what people are doing and identifying that it's waste. This is not going to work. The only way you can succeed in changing your performance is really reinforcing, is really harnessing the power of your teams. And we are going to see a few ways to do that. And the last lean thinking, I mean, not last, but number 5, is making it visible. You cannot improve what you do not see. So if you do not see what needs to be done today, you do not know if who is going to do what. And so allocating Excel spreadsheet to individuals to say, this is what you have to do today, you do that, and you do that, and you do that, does not work because it doesn't allow the team to manage the whole, to have the visibility of the whole, and to manage all the activities required to perform as a lab. So basically what we want is to engage teams to eliminate the causes of waste. So poor layout, lack of multi-skilling, a silo way of working, lack of synchronization. Synchronization between some labs is very important. You need to get synchronized between a chemical department, chemical lab, and the microbial, for example, microbiological lab. It's of no use to send just the result of the microbiological if you do not have also the chemical results. So synchronization between the lab is extremely important, for example. Long setup times, late sample arrival, many wastes which need to be addressed. So we as productivity think that well-trained people working in an environment of trust with a clear sense of purpose, shared objectives, empowered to make decisions with the support and encouragement from their leaders will make the difference. And so all lean principles work together to improve lab performance. Let's see 4 of them. The first one is create a well-organized and visual workspace. No secret that you cannot work well if your environment is not well organized. So we want a well-organized and clean, immaculate workplace in which everything has a specific place. Visual standards make it easy for everyone to keep the place perfectly in order. At a glance, everyone is able to see, to find the needed items, containers, consumables, see the flow, identify abnormalities. So you want this kind of environments with visual standard, for example, to make work in process visible. This is a real example. So, I mean, every environment is different and every environment will need specific standards. And obviously, this is achieved through 5 S's, which is the team activities. The first S, sort, set in order, or shine, standardize, and sustain. I mean, the first 3 are just improvement part, but sustain can be possible only if you standardize and engage people in improvement. When we talk about that, we also talk about the machine and equipment layout. It's a very important feature in the labs. How do you get organized so that you simplify the flow, you make a rational path to the testing, to the steps of testing. So equipment location, support material, tools for changeover. And the other thing is taking care of the equipment. Is your most important equipment in perfect conditions? Do you collect performance data? Are calibration, qualification carried out efficiently and timely? All these activities are ancillary, but are extremely important for the performance of the lab. Because if you have to do a test today and your HPLC equipment is not working, I mean, it's just, you cannot do it. So it's really important. And in Lean, we consider that we have to take care of all the small things, the small abnormalities, vibration, noise, something which doesn't work well. It means that there is a problem. And one day this problem will become a failure, will become an issue. Sometimes it can be a big issue. So we have to prevent that from happening. And when you do 5S, when you do this workplace organization, obviously it's teamwork, and team members define new roles and responsibilities that needs to be shared and structured and standardized and made visual, because as I told you, everything should be visual. That was first principle. The second one is remove waste from processes. As we said before, we want to reduce the lead time, the time it takes from incoming samples to the end, to the final results rendering. So you need to see the waste, eliminate the waste. If you cannot eliminate one activity, you need to combine it. You have to think in terms of, can we combine it with another one? Can we restructure it? Can we simplify? And when we have done that, we can build and share standards, make things visual, so that we don't go back again to the previous conditions. So in Lean, we think standards are absolutely essential to give stability to the processes. So you do that at each step of your process. Let's take, for example, sample collection. Okay, maybe you have improvement to do in terms of define collection frequency, optimize the sample transportation from collection point to the lab, decide the kind of milk run of shuttle you want because you have too much waiting. Same thing, reception, registration. I have seen so many cases of labs in which the samples are waiting because registration is done randomly, it's not well structured. So this is the kind of waste you want to fight against. And that's very important. So you see, people who do the job together, they are going to work together to see how they can simplify, reduce complexity, and make it easier for them, and obviously and create a more efficient process. A third principle, which is critical in Lean in lab, is flow. Basically, Lean is about managing flow and managing flows. So in a lab, you have plenty of samples arriving, and you would like to make them flow, because the ideal process is when samples arrive, they go from one step to another without stopping. That's the ideal step. We know it's difficult to reach that ideal flow, but still, how can we make samples flow? Go quickly, go through the process quickly. So there are different things which need to be addressed. First of all, organizing your samples. What is it that you have to do? Can we find homogeneous families so that we don't do, we get organized and we avoid we do short things, long things, small testing, more complex ones, and it creates a lot of issues. And the simple things which could be done in 2 hours, at the end of the day, stay in your lab for 4 days, and nobody understands why. It's because the flow has not been managed and the families of analysis have not been managed. You need to understand your demand. So collect data to understand the frequency of arrival. Is it every day? Is it every hour? Is it once a week? Once a month? What are the expected volume? Sometimes people say, we don't know. Yes, you don't know, but you can guess, you can try to make estimates. And, and the more you collect data, the more you look at your data, the more you can make some forecast and anticipate. And in front of the demand, you have to see what is the service level that the customer is expecting. And what is it that we want to guarantee to our customer? Do we want to say, Mr. Customer, for this type of testing, we guarantee 2 days, or we guarantee you 5 days? It's a decision which has to be made. But in order to do that, you need to manage your flow and you need to schedule. I sometimes think of a lean lab like I think it is like a little bit a train station. So you imagine you have a lab which has train leaving, I don't know, every 2 hours. You have the train of the simple things leaving every 2 hours. And then you have a train leaving every morning at 11 because you get samples once a day. And you decide that, okay, we process them once a day. You have another train leaving every 2 days, or a train leaving every once a week. This is the kind of thinking you need to reach. But to do that, there is some work, some analysis to do, and some principles to apply. So this is an example of in vitro testing. We have created a new scheduling system in the laboratory I was referring to before. So there are, according to the products, there are tests which are implemented every 2 weeks on Friday because it's in vitro, so it's a little bit long. Some of the tests starts, you see that 3 times a week, but we know which day we get organized, so there is no surprise. In that case, we have dedicated to some machines to this test. In other situations, we don't do that. It depends. You also need to schedule your ancillary activities or recurrent activities according to their frequency. And actually, this is the first thing to do, because if you do not do your ancillary activities, you cannot perform the test. So a good flow management system must be implemented. And every morning, every day, twice a day, the team should review where they are. Are we okay? And maybe we are blue, or we are green, we are okay, or are we red, or we have had an issue this morning. So what do we do to try to speed up the process? Is it a problem if instead of sending the results today, we send them tomorrow? So what is it that we have to do? So I told you about making things visible. Making things visible is the only way you are going to be able to achieve shorter lead time and performance. And it's the only way you are going to be able to engage your people and make people feel like it's a team challenge. It's teamwork. We are all responsible for the overall lab performance. Obviously, when you do that, you realize that, for example, you have to reduce changeover time between 2 batches of testing. And you can use the quick changeover techniques, SMEDs, single minute exchange of dye, that is used in the industry to reduce the time it takes to clean the machine and to do the new setup. Fourth principle is really managing performance, and managing performance through a daily management system. If you, in Lean, we say, if you measure, you understand. If you understand, you control. If you control, you improve. But if you have no measurement, you don't know, you don't know. But when we talk about measuring, many organizations, everybody has KPIs, but I find sometimes that we have mostly what I call the lagging KPIs. So we have measures which tell us how good or how bad we have been last month. So we have been 75% on time. Yes, it's important to know, because you have targets. You want to reach, I don't know, for example, 98% on time delivery. But just following this KPI is not enough. So you need to build your own living KPIs according to your process For example, if we want to be sure we are able to make our test and validate the results on time, we need to be sure every day we have zero backlog. I mean, no samples left without being tested. It's a leading indicator. Collection time should be less than 1 day. Registration, 100% should be done. 100% of the samples should be registered in less than 2 hours. These are examples. So according to the issues you have to identify the critical measures that will tell you how well you're doing or how critical this process is. Same for quality. I mean, number of defects detected by customers should be 0. That's the target lagging indicator. But you want some leading KPIs, the number of retests every day, the number of errors detected every day, and maybe you can decide that you have to identify which type of mistakes has been done. Is it just a method? Is it just because there was an error in the chemical agents? So you have to define the leading indicators which will help you identify the critical issues and work at improving them. So basically, when you do your flow management and when you do your daily meeting, you create this short time interval monitoring every day, twice a day, every week. And this allows to monitor a certain number of things, which are your leading indicators, and which at the end will give you the results, which will allow you to see at the end of every week how good we have been this week, or on Monday for the week before, and at the end of the month, and since the beginning of the year. So these are the results, but you can achieve your targets on the lagging indicators only if you monitor on your leading indicators. So, and this has to be visible, as well as problems, which are very important. And you have to engage to have your daily meeting. And you have to also engage problem solving, because we cannot hide problems, but instead we want to make them visible to engage a systematic, structured approach in solving problems. So the benefits are huge. The benefits of labs are huge. I think in the world of today, your labs can make the difference. They make the difference by the performance. So performance improvement, we can reach incredible targets. We can increase by 40 to even 90% some outputs, daily outputs, reduce the lead time by such a percentage, improve quality if we engage people, if we manage the flow, if we together we start fighting, looking at the waste, and the more people see waste, the more they will find more ways to address. This is a positive circle, and it's good for your people. It's good for your people. It's collaborative work that you have to create, that you are creating. So you need to dedicate time to do that. You create value. And if you create value, if your people think they create value, there is a sense of satisfaction. There is more time for cross-skilling, more time for skill development. So your lab will make the difference. So many industries rely on the expertise of their lab. And I think it's really the capability to serve the customer, which sometimes is also is in the lab. It is related to the lab performance. So production, yes, but at the end of the day, the lab is providing results which allow production to produce and which allow production to release, quality assurance to release the batches. And it's also critical for innovation. So we can help you build your journey. And we have a 5-day Lean certificate program in which obviously we go deeper into the how to do these things. And that is very important, and we can help you reduce your complexity and get better in your lab. And I hope you see the value of doing the lab. And thank you for your time this afternoon.